at the start, you need to know the fundamentals. When I look at my old presentation from 2016, I looked at the works that I did. I was doing stylization that I didn't understand. And I think I wasted a lot of time doing that. I was doing a sort of cartoony, like big eyes. And I was taking a style that I'd seen other people do and I was bringing it in there. I didn't know what the original looked like. And that's important. Like, people wonder, like, why do you need to know photorealism? Why are you harping on photorealism so much, Andrew? Like in all my tutorials, it's always photorealism based. And that's because at the start, everyone needs to know it. To give a more example, about a year ago, I got into caricatures. And I started because I was trying to do like hyper-real sketches of faces. And I realized that like even moving something like a millimeter off, like if the nose is a millimeter too high or low, it doesn't look like the person anymore. And I thought, well, I got to learn likeness. Like, what is it that makes somebody looks like themselves? And so I got into caricatures, which is all about like extreme exaggeration of the features that are unique to that person. So if they've got a forehead that's slightly larger than the average forehead, then that's the part you exaggerate. But you also have to subtract another area in order to exaggerate something else. It's a very unique skill. And I failed at it hard. Like, I remember drawing Leonardo DiCaprio and Kanye West, each of them maybe 50 times, right? Trying to get a likeness. And I failed. I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, what makes Kanye West look like Kanye West? I figured it was like the jowls, something to do with, he's got big cheeks for some reason. I'm like, but it still didn't look like it. I couldn't figure it out. And I can't remember what it was that triggered me to go back to realistic drawings, but I'm glad I did, because then I spent like another year-ish on photoreal drawings. And then looking back at the caricatures, I'm like, what on earth was I doing? I didn't understand what the original form looked like. I didn't know what the average face looked like so that I could tell when there was a deviation from that. Like when I looked at some of the old caricatures, I'm like, why did I make the chin big? They don't have a big chin. They have a big nose, right? Like I couldn't figure. So what is this even point about? It's about stealing, right? So exaggeration and style and all that kind of stuff. It's fun. It's attractive. Every artist wants to have a style of their own, and stealing is a big part of that. And, copying from people that you love. But at the beginner stage, you just need to learn the fundamentals. You need to know what life looks like. I know it's boring. It doesn't have to be boring, by the way. You can find nice photos and create those, and it will be enjoyable when you start cracking through these lessons and figuring out like, oh, that's what makes that thing look like that. It will be. It's not as boring as it sounds. Like, I know it. Yeah, fundamentals are kind of boring, but the alternative is to do what I've done painfully and to just go through and like, no, I'm going to do the fun stuff, caricatures, and then 6 months later look back and go like, that was kind of a waste of time. Almost, right? The way to get the fundamentals is to replicate life. As I said, photorealism. That's all anyone really needs to learn. So this is what you can do. And this is what I realized, earlier this year is like, if I'm doing terrible faces, if I'm drawing terrible faces, I should just have the photo next to me like that. And I draw the face. And then at the end of it, I take the drawing and I move the layer across until it's on top of the photo. And I see where I was off. And sometimes I get a red marker and I draw in like red and I go, the cheek was too far out, the back of the head is always wrong. And then I go, okay, next. And then I try it again, and then again, and again, and again. And guess what? It's like getting an expert feedback. It's like having an expert over your shoulder going, the cheeks are too big, chin is too small, ears are too long, whatever, right? Because you've got it right there. And it's the best thing. It's like when I figured it out, I'm like, wow. More artists should know this. They should know that there is a free expert sitting over their shoulder, and it is called photos. So take advantage of that. If you're a 3D artist, I recommend the exact same thing. You don't need thoughts and opinions from experts. All you need to do is find a photo of something that you realistically could actually create. That's a very important piece we'll get to. But don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't start with a character and go, I'm going to replicate a character. It's going to be a painful process. Start with something small. I'm looking in the corner of my room. There's a kettlebell. You could make a kettle bell or a kettle, either one. Something small, something you could model, get the textures right. And then when you finish it, you render it, overlay it exactly 1-to-1 on top of it. And it's got to be like, by the way, like Make it easy to flick back and forth. So I put it in Photoshop and just like turn the layer on and off. When you go back and forth, you'll notice so many things are wrong. The shape of it is off. The lighting isn't as bright as the reference in the lighting. Or like, why does my thing not look as realistic? And you get in there and you realize like, oh, there's like texture to this plastic. Or, oh, there's texture to the, like, or the metal is a lot shinier than I had mine. And these are things that you just learn. And then as you build that up and you go through photo after photo after photo, different subject, and you just power through, well, don't power through it as I talked about, but learning from it like that, you will pick up the attention to detail skill, which is so vital. That's kind of, I'm learning like, so at Polygon, right? We have like a team of artists and sort of giving feedback. And I noticed like the artists that get attention to detail, it's like amazing to work with them because it's just like, bam, they just get it. But sometimes someone's maybe new at it or something like that. And the feedback, like when I look at the thing, I'm just like, why didn't you just overlay the photo on top of it? You could tell that that's not right. There's not enough detail there. Attention to detail is such a crucial skill that any recruiter of any studio will tell you is like such a key component. And you get that through making photo after photo. So very few artists do that, but you'll be ahead of the rest if you do. Okay, we're 33 minutes in, making progress. Oh yes, number 7, create what you love.